The answer for this one is B. Answer should be B. Answer on this one should be A. Pick a number and bring it up.
Oh, this is what's going to be crazy.
The winning numbers are 2, 3, 8, 12, and 19. To simplify complex numbers, here's example number 1. Your test is tomorrow. On this problem, we have I plus 2 over 3 minus I minus 4 plus I over 3 plus 2I. We want to subtract those fractions. Remember, we have two different ways we can do it. One, you can find a common denominator first, multiplying appropriately on the top, and then simplify. Or you can simplify each fraction individually and then go on to do the subtraction. I'm going to simplify individually. On the first one, I would have to multiply this fraction top and bottom by what if I wanted to simplify first? 3 plus 1. 3 plus I should be 3 plus I. Alright, so if I did that, on the top, what I would end up with is 3I plus I squared plus 6 plus 2I. And then on the bottom, it comes out to be a difference of 2 squares, so it's 9 minus I squared. That's really 9 plus 1, which would be a 10. And then we could go over to the next fraction. What would I multiply this one by top and bottom if I wanted to simplify first? 3 minus 2I. So if I do that on the top, I end up with a 12 minus 8I plus 3I minus 2I squared. On the bottom, it's a difference of 2 squares. I'm running out of room for scratch work, so we'll go here. That would be 9 and minus 4I squared. That's really a 9 plus 1, or plus 4, which is 13. So you can simplify on the top now on the left fraction. This is a negative 1 plus 6, that'll be a 5. And then your i's add together to get plus 5i. On the right side, you really have a plus 2 here, and with that 12 it becomes 14. Your i's add together to get a plus, or not a plus, but actually a minus 5i. And you have a 13 on the bottom. Alright, so from the last page we ended up with 5 plus 5i over 10 minus 14 minus 5i over 13. We need a common denominator of 130, looks like. So I need a red marker now. There we go. If I multiply this one by 13 on the bottom to get 130, on the top I would get 65 plus 65i. And then on the right side, to get 130, I'd have to multiply by 10, which would give me 140 minus 50i on the top. So if you combine all this together, over 130, I would have 65 plus 65i minus the quantity of 140 minus 50i. So if I do this 65, it's 65 minus a negative 50, so it's really plus. Oh, that's not the 50, that's the 140 that I need. 65 minus 140 would give me a negative 75. And then for the i's, I would have 65i minus a negative 50i. That's going to be a plus 115i. I can break all these down by dividing by what number? 5. I can divide by 5, so I'll do that up here. If I divide by 5 on the top, I have a negative 15 plus 23i. And on the bottom, if I divide by 5, I would have a 26. So that would be your final answer. Alright, on this one, I'm going to simplify this one first, multiplying by 4i plus 2, and on the top, that would give me 8i squared plus 4i, and then minus 12i, and minus 6. On the bottom, a difference of 2 squares would be 16i squared minus 4. So that would be a negative 16 minus 4, which is a negative 20. Now on to this side, I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by 4i plus 3. So on the top, I would get 24i squared plus 18i minus 8i, and then minus 6. And on the bottom, a difference of 2 squares would be 16i squared minus 9. So that's a negative 16 minus 9, which is a negative 25. We have to simplify the tops now. This is a negative 8 minus 6, negative 14. And your i's simplify to minus 8i. On the bottom, you have a negative 20. On this side, that's a negative 24 minus 6, which is a negative 30. And the i's simplify to 10i. Then on the bottom, you have a negative 25. Continuing from the last page, a negative 14 minus 8i over negative 20, and then plus a negative 30 minus, or actually plus 10i over a negative 25. Is that the same as the last screen? Alright, so let's see if we can reduce a little bit and see if that helps first before we do the actual addition. On this side, if you chop them all in half, you have a negative 7 minus 4i over a negative 10. And then on this side, you can take out a 5 and get a negative 6 plus 2i over a negative 5. So we could make the denominator a negative 10, which means this one would stay the same. And on this side, if I multiply by 2, I get a negative 12 plus 4i over a negative 10. And since I'm adding, there's no need for parentheses. Negative 7 plus a negative 12 is negative 19. And then negative 4i plus 4i is 0, so they're gone. All of this is over a negative 10, which of course you have to simplify that down to 19 over 10. Try this one. Alright, on this one, I'm going to simplify each one first. There's an I on the bottom. So what I'll do is I'll multiply everything by I to start with. So I would come up with 2i plus I squared on the top and on the bottom, and I squared. And then over here on this one, there's really not much need to do anything with that yet. So we'll just keep it the way it is. And then on the bottom over here, we can go ahead and multiply this by I to make it an even I to the fourth on the bottom, and then on the top 3i minus 2i squared, and go back and simplify some of these. So on this one we'll have a 2i minus 1 over a negative 1, and the next one we will have a 4 minus I over a negative 1, and then on this one 3i plus 2 over 1. So that makes these work out a little neater. Okay, on this one over here, we will have division by negative 1. So you end up with a negative 2i plus 1. And then on the next fraction, you'll have a minus 4 plus I. And on the next one, it just stays the same on the top, 3i plus 2. So let's see what we can simplify first with the constants. We have a plus 1 and a minus 4. That's a negative 3. I assume this is a plus sign, poorly written. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so 1 minus 4 would be a negative 3, plus 2 is a negative 1. And then for your i's, you have minus 2i, plus I is a negative I. Negative I plus 3i is 2i.